thanks again for all the picture we passed. Very insightful, very interesting, super frustrating that it's only 10 minutes, but that's the deal, right? So now I will welcome Ralf Heim from Fincite to share his experience from last year. And then we will continue with the pitch until 10:05. Yeah, thank you. Welcome, Ralf.
I prepared a bit for today, a bit of a mixture between a presentation on what happened with Fincite after the last year's conference, but also what is happening currently in the investment industry and what trends we do actually see. And maybe today there's a scale-up pitching on this trend already. So let's see. Short update maybe on who we are, where we come from. So we are an investment software company. We are specialized on the processes from onboarding, profiling, portfolio construction to reporting, and then at the end also rebalancing and all the following processes. This is a software that is used by banks, by asset managers, by wealth managers, smaller firms meanwhile as well. And across Europe, we currently have 7,000 advisors on the platform. I think when we were here last year, we were around 3,000 advisors. So it was quite a good development. We have right now 880K portfolios on the platform and around 6.5 billion assets under view. And what we do is basically we create the full investment process with a very composable platform. That means we work with larger corporations, especially in this field of the business, where we are having everything from an onboarding, sales impulses, wealth aggregation to advice, check profiling of MiFID constraints, of restrictions and objectives, but then also handling the portfolio, the rebalancing, and all this around the investment management, coming up with the reporting at the end. 2020 was very important for us because I think when COVID struck, the first thing we noticed that reporting got more important, and also that for us it was very important to look at how we want to grow the business across geographies. And we looked at a particular process and we built a new platform which complements the rest of the software, which is basically the reporting part of our software, to sell it also to smaller firms, like firms with 10 advisors, 5 advisors, sometimes even lower, and that can use the software out of the box, like it's a so-called turnkey platform that can be used for reporting. So you, as an advisor, you can start to create the portfolio of your customers, put it into a report. You can onboard the customer on this. You can structure the advisory process by comparing, for example, your model portfolio against the customer's today portfolio. And we offer this platform now, meanwhile, also as a turnkey component, meaning from 200 euros per advisor onwards. This was for us a major shift, and also for us a field of growing. We grew in several countries. So we are now active in Germany, of course, but also Benelux, Austria, Switzerland, and in the Nordics, which are especially Denmark and Finland for now. But we learned that with the process of reporting comes a quite high scalability across all kind of service model you have, because you can really go across reporting, across brokerage, DPM, and advice, but you can also go into regions like the Nordics with connecting the local custodian bank and then directly providing value from day one. Sorry for this. Basically, then what we had is, as Fincite, we had this extension of the business. We grew with that quite strong, and we also have something for today for you guys, for you as an audience, where we are currently thinking about where this market is going to go further. So let me go a bit into this. Last 2 weeks I've been in the US as it was possible. I think we will now see times where it will become more difficult again, and unfortunately. And we noticed quite some differences in the way that the US market works versus the European market works. But also the good news is that we see currently a lot of improvements on this market infrastructure. And what I mean by that is what we currently see as a big topic is that with regulation, especially the European market, if you can call that there is something like a European market, then this European market becomes more integrated. That means we can increasingly see that, for example, as we launched the platform I just told you about, it was for us not a very big step to go into the Nordics, because we noticed that the custodians are different, but we can take a custodian and then we plug this custodian. The market data is the same. The required regulatory reportings are the same. So a lot of things that MiFID, PSD2 and other processes brought into play create a more level playing field for software companies across Europe. There are still a lot of differences when it comes to tax system or taxation systems. So you have still differences, which makes it sometimes not so frictionless to enter a new market. But still, what we definitely see is that it's way easier than as we started 6 to 7 years ago. And this is actually a very good thing. What we also do see is that the convergence of service models is currently happening in reporting. And what I mean by that is that 5 years or 10 years ago, the way you operated an investment company was you are either brokerage with self-execution customers, you're either advice with providing advice to customers, or you're a DPM and you're providing discretionary portfolios, or you're an asset manager that sells products. And while reporting has a lot of in common for all these models, we currently see more and more that our customers are working to integrate, for example, what you do in your brokerage into the DPM service they provide. So that means that reporting ongoingly becomes a process in which you create this 360-degree view on the customer, even so you at the moment just serve a fraction of it. And if you do this well, you can start to see potentials that the customer has in its own brokerage and put this together with recommendations or with actions you would take in a DPM kind of context. And you just have to make the regulatory process right, but then you get this more holistic approach towards the customer. And while we learned that, for us, reporting becomes more and more the integral part from which a lot of things start then as a workflow. That's something which also will impact the industry. We saw, for example, with startups like Scalable Capital, they launched a brokerage service next to DPM, next to being a portfolio management provider. And I think we will ongoingly see this also in between banks. Some of our customers, which operate at the moment very siloistic, so very much like a silo, where they have their brokerage business, but they also have a DPM process and they want to bring the customer closer to the DPM. They start to do this by triggering things in the reporting. One particular trend which we also see coming right now is that portfolio construction as a process is moving towards customer-centric. What I mean by that is in the past, or even today, a lot of things are like you have like 3, 4 funds, you bundle them, you have a portfolio. And in the institutional space, you see more and more that individual customer restrictions are integrated into software that is handling this, but also you see this in the retail space. And one example which struck me a lot during being in the US the last weeks was that the process of portfolio construction in the US is currently dominated by a trend called direct indexing, where companies are positioning themselves to take out really the full proposition a fund has at the moment. So the idea is to build portfolios just based on stocks, just based on bonds, just based on direct assets. And you then take out a lot of the proposition that a fund had and also the margins that a fund had. I think that trend will manifest in the US very much faster than Europe, given the US taxation system. But it has huge impacts on the asset management industry, because if a significant amount of money which flows into funds today comes via investment advisors or comes via wealth managers, then you will see that this trend of providing portfolio construction services directly to the end customer, to the advisor, will have an impact on the fund revenue models in the midterm. And this is something which we see also a lot in the US, not so far yet in Europe. For Fincite itself, we started with the first customers in the US also in 2021, so this year. So we are now actively working also with first US customers, but more in the process of their international branches in Europe or in Asia. So we still see that US is quite far ahead, so 3 to 5 years in most of the things. And we see, for example, when it comes to startups, we see that technology providers, we see that companies which are here in the reporting space, in the advisory software space, are here around some million in revenue. They grow there towards $500 million in revenue and things like that already. So it's quite a more mature software market as well. So that's what we see also as a software trend. And last but not least is a question we got asked a lot, also representing the shift we had in our software. As we started 6 years ago, our main customer was robo-advisor building, was around building a digital proposition for the customer. Now there's a lot of advisors on our software. We said like 7,000 advisors. And we see more and more that both also converge again. We see, for example, with the robo-advisors using Fincite software, that they start to build advice process inside of their models. Like for every customer who has more than $1 million invested, they start to build an own advisor proposition. So that means that you can call somebody, you can speak with somebody, you can speak with a human about the way you do your financial planning, about the way you are delivering your you do your structuring, for example, your wealth. And this is something which also gets into robo-advice. At the same time, advisors are getting more efficient. On our software, we measured that the average advisor can save around 12 work weeks per year, just if he focuses on the advice process itself and doesn't have to take care about portfolio construction, about reporting, and about report construction. And if software enables him to do that, I think in the long run, we can make advisors, existing advisors, maybe 10x faster, 10x more productive. And so that both things will go hand in hand, the digital servicing and the human advice proposition inside of it. So all in all, I hope this gave a good overview. I'm sorry for not being able to join to you today. I got a COVID case, not something I fear a lot about because it was distance, but I think it's still safe to these days to not come to an event then. So I'm sorry that I cannot be here today. But I think the idea was to give you an overview on what we are doing, what we did, in what changed in the last year, and also what is currently happening in the industry. And maybe by today you see a startup which is actually working exactly on these trends, which you currently see here. And if you want to talk about the trends, if you like to follow up on the conversation, you're invited to add me on LinkedIn, to reach out via mail. So happy to get back in contact to you. And again, very much sorry for not being here. It would have been a pleasure to go on an event again, but unfortunately, it's not possible today. So thank you very much. And back to you.
Thank you very much, Ralf. Very much appreciated to have you a feedback on your experience here. And again, congrats. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think now we can welcome the next pitch.
Hi, I'm Rita, and I'm the partnership manager at iPaidThat. I'm here to talk to you about accounting and especially not doing it. So, as entrepreneurs, we realize two things. The first thing is that accounting is mandatory. If you need to have a business plan, you need to have a loan, you need to get a credit, you need to have your accounting in order. And the second thing that we realized is that accounting is something we don't like to do. It's time-consuming, it distracts us from our business, and overall, it's something we don't like to do. This is why we wanted to make things easier, and we created iPaidThat. iPaidThat is an all-in-one financial tool that targets small businesses and that has a lot of products that work collaboratively together in order to make your accounting easier and your life easier. Before I dive in more into the product, I will tell you a little bit about our background. We've been created in 2017. We are 30 employees and more than 4,000 clients all over Europe, and we raised 10 million euros. Okay, so what iPaidThat will do for you? First, we will make sure that you have all your invoices collected in one place. To do so, we will use 3 products. The first product are suppliers' invoices. In case you receive any invoice from on your mailbox, on your supplier's website, or on a collaborative platform that you work on, we will take the invoice and import it on iPaidThat automatically. The second option is business expenses. If you have a physical receipt or any business expense, you can get access to our application that you can install it on your phone or on the phone of your employees. And as soon as you have a business expense, you can take a snap of it, and it will also be automatically imported on iPaidThat. The third option are sales invoices. It's where you can create and edit invoices and send them directly to your customers. So, next. We did all the collection of invoices. What we will do next is the tracking of payment. To do so, we do the bank reconciliation. The bank reconciliation means the comparison between the bank transactions and the imported invoices. And if there's an invoice that is not matched with the bank transaction, we will notify you in real time. The other way around, if there's an invoice that hasn't been paid, we will also tell you about it in real time. So we got all the invoices collected in one place. We did the bank reconciliation to make sure that all the invoices are well collected. We also track your payments. And now, using our interface, you can select all the invoices that need to be paid, and you can pay the dozen of invoices in just one click. The fourth and the final step is to visualize. So we did the bank reconciliation to make sure that the invoices are well imported. We track your payments, and you paid for your invoices. What we'll generate for you is reports, forecasting reports, cash flow reports, in order to tell you where you are in your finances. So overall, iPaidThat is a solution in order to help you gain more time, to digitalize all the process in order to let you know about your finance, your business, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the pitch and for what you achieved so far. Just a question regarding first the size of the team, and the second question is, can you tell us a bit more about your go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, now we're 30 people. We're internalizing the product, so we're recruiting people for Spain, for Italy, for Belgium as well, and for Germany. So from now till 2 months, we will be somehow 40 people. And for the marketing strategy, we target expert accountants and entrepreneurs. And expert accountants, we can't find them online. This is why we do one-to-one calls. We participate in physical events where we can find them. And for online acquisition, which is for entrepreneurs, we do emailing, we do online events, we participate in webinars, and this is where we can find them. And we do an onboarding, like using phone calls, as well as newsletters and all that stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I had a question regarding the payment process.
Yeah.
So I see from a database perspective how you store the data and you process it and everything, but when it comes to payment, how does it work? Like
the payment that for the payment initiation, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So we partnered up with Swan. It's a bank service that we met in France. And it is white labeled on our application. And when you find that you have an invoice that hasn't been paid, we go to the application on Swan. They send you an SMS just for authentication. And how you can have money on iPaidThat is by doing a transfer from your bank account, from your professional bank account. And using Swan, you can pay for your suppliers. So it's a white labeled partnership with Swan.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Could you give us a bit more insight into the average client value? You have 4,000 customers, but are they all similar size or?
No. We target small companies, but somehow there are a lot of big companies that are interested in our product. So this is why everyone needs to do their accounting. We're also targeting larger case companies. But our main focus are small companies because they don't have a lot of volume of invoices, but with the fundraising that we had and all the help with the partnerships and everything we're doing, we're kind of getting adapted for all the big companies as well. But when it comes to big companies, we do a personalized onboarding, like their logo on their platform, personalized maybe messages, because sometimes you can speak with the small companies in another ways than speaking with the big companies. So this is why we also adapt our onboarding, our product with each company size.
Okay, I guess all your customers come from France. Is your main market? What will be the next development of the company?
We don't have only France clients. The idea started in Barcelona with the founders, and they came to implement it in France. But mainly all our clients are in France, but we also have clients in Spain, in Italy, and in Belgium. And for Belgium, we're one step ahead because the product is so adapted for the Belgium market. So what we will do next is that for acquiring more clients to get more visible in Belgium, we're going to have offices in Belgium. Our strategy is to start by having a country manager that is based in Paris. And then when we have more clients, we will go to each country, for example, in Spain, in Belgium, or in Italy, or even in Germany later on, in order to acquire more clients. But we have a lot of clients, and it's not only in France. Yeah.
Has anyone from the public a question? Yeah. Sorry.
So my question would be about the vision. What do you plan to do in the next 10 years? Do you plan to go worldwide or more specifically in a geographical region?
Okay. So with the last fundraising, it helped us to to put our roadmap more in place. What we want to do from now until the year is to internationalize it in Europe. But what we want to do more is we started by changing the UX design of the website. We also hired 10 more people in order to help us internationalize it. And there's a country manager for Italy now, for Spain, and there's a sales team, and we're also recruiting a marketing team as well. And our vision is to let people focus on more important tasks than accounting. Accounting is really important, but we want to facilitate the life of entrepreneurs and of accounting, and to facilitate the relationship between entrepreneurs and accountants. This is why we're trying to be everywhere and to internationalize it everywhere. But we have plans to be present in the US as well and in the UK, but it's not for a year, maybe 3 years from now, because we need to adapt the product for each country. For example, for Spain, we couldn't adapt the same product in Spain because we can't use the application. So we need to study the market and then internationalize it. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Hello, I'm Pascal from Neterium, and we are a sanction screening API. So you might have heard the terms AML and KYC, anti-money laundering, know your customer. There are regulations that are designed to fight against financial crime. I think it's important to always remember that behind financial crime, there is real crime. So whenever someone drowns trying to come to Europe, or dies from an overdose or being shot by a smuggled gun, this is real crime fueling financial crime, where money is laundered. And terrorism really always needs financial crime in order to operate. So that's important to remember. So these regulations are an obligation, but they're also a huge pain for banks, obviously, but now also for digital banks, for digital platforms, and now even for corporates. So the rule of thumb nowadays is more or less, whenever you touch money, you are subject to AML and KYC. And if we zoom a bit in the AML and KYC, we see that by far, the biggest pain today is still in screening. Why? Well, in the current geopolitical environment, which is quite tense, as you probably have all noticed, sanctions tend to be more and more used as a foreign policy weapon. And therefore, the complexity, so how complex these new programs are and how targeted they are sometimes to some individuals or some entities, and the velocity, so at which speed the new programs come, are currently at levels that we have never seen before. And if we look into the screening process itself, we see that there are really big challenges in terms of, one, scalability. So, because we really talk here about millions, hundreds of millions of customers or financial transactions to screen. Efficiency, because this process generates a mass of alerts, most of them actually being false alerts. And as a consequence, operational cost, because if you have hundreds of thousands of alerts, and, well, you need a lot of people to deal with these alerts, and that costs a lot of money. So when we started Neterium back in 2017, none of the founders was actually new to this. We've all been in sanctions for about 20 years. And during that time, we have already designed 4 different screening solutions. Most of them actually still being used in production today. So to give you an idea, about 80% of international transactions, financial transactions in the world today are screened with solutions that we have designed. So we are really on a mission to make sanction screening a simple service for platforms. What I mean by that is if today you design and you build a banking app, a payment service, a KYC solution, or ID verification solution, or an e-commerce platform, and you need this screening capability, we want to make it very simple for you to just call our API in order to integrate very quickly this feature into your platform. How we do that in practice? Well, we harness the power and the scalability of the cloud. We allow the platforms to call our API, passing either relationships, so names of customers, or financial transactions, and to get the response in real time. So as you can see, it's extremely fast. So obviously, we improve on all dimensions of screening. So we are a lot faster, we are a lot more efficient, meaning that we produce a lot less alerts, and we are extremely cheaper. But even more important, we are zero footprint, which means that we don't store any personal data. And we have ways to provide this service without storing any personal data. We use AI extensively, but we are not a black box. We provide full explainability. And in the regulatory environment, this is extremely important. And finally, because we have a simple and very standard API, we massively reduce the risk of the integration project. We actually have customers who have been able to implement our service in a matter of days. So that's it for me. We have a booth here at the Loft, so please visit us or go to our website where our API is fully documented. Thank you very much. Happy to answer any question.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you for the presentation. Just a question: how do you ensure that your screening device or machine is always compliant with the regulatory environment?
Yeah, that's really what we call like the license to play. It's obviously the core. So, so the way we do that is we have agreements with all the large data vendors that exist in the market, because we don't provide data ourselves. And we have instantaneous connection to all these data vendors, and we make sure that the data is always up to date. So one of the things, of course, that we have very fast and very reliable pipelines to all these vendors. And then, of course, we have a very strict and complete Q&A process on top of that to make sure that when data is loaded, it is still, of course, valid, and that it remains absolutely, that it is totally up to date. Okay. Also, in every single response that the API gives, we provide the exact version, name, timestamp of every data that we provide. So that's really important for audit perspective. Yes, good question.
Okay, and what is your pricing, and how do you build it?
So yeah, the price is very simple. We have had a lot of experience with pricing, and the less dimensions you have, the best. So there is only one dimension, is volume. Okay. So all the price is purely volume based.
To have an idea about your average contract value today?
You know the volume of that we process? Yeah. Okay. So I cannot give you the total volume, but I know, for example.
I mean, today you have some customers.
Yeah.
What is the average contract you're selling today?
Well, I can give you
an idea about the.
I can give you an
market.
example. One of our customers, so only one platform is processing 40 million records per day on our platform, and that's only one customer.
Could you tell us a bit more about competition?
That's interesting. While there is a lot of competition on at the platform side, in the specific approach that we have, which is only providing the API and only be very focused on technology, I think we are really unique in the sense that there are plenty of people providing the end-to-end solution, but nobody's providing exactly what we provide, which is actually interesting because in terms of connections to the market, there are a lot of people that I used not to be able to talk with in my previous life because they were competitors, and now actually they are using our service because we are a very small part of their proposition.
Thank you. So screening, indeed, it's very niche, but you are in a sector that is really rapidly growing. I think that for 2021, we amount for your sector 1.3 billion, which is amazing, and represent both 90 and 20 years combined, almost. Yeah. So we are almost there. So that's for the market traction. But indeed, you said you are part of in the value chain. You are on the screening part. The screening part involves different kind of regulation you should rely on because, you know, some activities must be screened in some countries but not in others. Yeah. How does that work for you? Like, I mean, do you see a difference in implementation, whether you are in Asia, whether you are in Europe? Or?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's an excellent question because the way we solve that is that every single request. So remember that you can send us like 100,000 requests per second. Well, every single of these requests can have a different configuration. So you can say, for example, one request, you can say, oh, I'm in Asia, so I want to have the Asian list plus the American list, and in this type of configuration because this is my risk appetite. The very next request, so 100,000 of a second later, can be completely different. So every single request can have a different configuration, use different list and everything. Yeah. So that's the way we solve it.
Okay. Thank you. Has anyone from the public? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Fabrice from the August platform from Luxembourg and from the Loft too. I've got two questions actually. The first one is, you mentioned that you're doing screening. Do you have the intention also to offer services in terms of scoring?
Scoring is actually part of screening in a way. So we, it's true that I didn't have every detail here, but we provide one of the things which are specific to our platform is that we provide not only the screening result, but we try to provide more and more analytics. Okay. So we try to calculate a lot more scores than just the screening. Yeah.
And my second question is, are you a regulated entity in Luxembourg?
No, we don't need to. That's the beauty of it, because we are, and also we have not sold in Luxembourg, and it is, and you are absolutely right. It's one of the things where I think Luxembourg is shooting in their own foot by not accepting the fact that public cloud is imposed, and we are very strict on the fact that we will only work on the public cloud.
Okay, and that's also because you don't actually keep data on your system.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's the cardinal rule that we have. We don't store any personal data ever.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Gentlemen there, sorry, but
No, you're right.
I know I'm out of time, but
Hey, Pascal.
Hello.
Quick question. I saw Cake as one of your customers. Can you tell us a bit more about the partnership you have with them?
yeah, interesting, because Cake is actually the only customer that you have seen in the list there, which is not a platform, so they are a direct customer. So they use us because they are a mobile app. And so when they onboard customers, they need to have a screening which is extremely fast, because they don't want to stop the customer in the process of conversion. And they use us in the background to screen the customer during the onboarding process, and then of course every day for the classical recheck. One of our first customer, excellent customer, Cake, very nice people.
Indeed, they are. Thank you very much, Pascal.
Thank you too.
Thank you. I think we can now welcome François from Indexa Capital.
Here I am.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us. I'm going to stay here. So I'm François Derbaix from Indexa. I'm Belgian, but exported to Spain like 20 years ago because my girlfriend and her wife, Marta, we met here in Louvain-la-Neuve, and then we moved back together to Spain. Indexa Capital is an automated investment service. It means that many people are calling it a robo-advisor, but we prefer to call it an automated investment service because we are no advisors, we are a manager, and our claim is lower fees, higher returns. So this is why you shouldn't trust a bank to manage your money. Why is that? Because banks mostly are selling you active management, not because it's better, but because it's more expensive, so it can generate more fees for them. Banks usually sell you their own interest product, not the best product for the customer. And banks usually work with very high fees. So the result of that is that according to SPIVA is Standard & Poor's index investing versus active investing. Latest study from 2019 shows that on average, global equity actively managed funds delivered 4.6 percentage points below their benchmark per year. For 4.6, I mean, that's a huge difference against the index. And on a 10 years period, 98% of the funds actually underperformed their benchmark, their index. That means that's an industry that is massively destroying value for the customer, or better said, massively transferring value from the customer pocket to the banks. So the solution, or what we propose, and actually what we didn't invent anything there, we basically adapted to Europe a model that was already successful in the US, from Betterment, Wealthfront, also from abroad in other European countries. And we adapted it to Spain at the beginning and then to Belgium, solutioning replacing actively managed fund through index funds, low cost. With independence, that means that we don't receive money from the fund managers from behind. We just charge a customer, and the customer is knowing exactly what he's paying to us, and with lower fees. So we are a team of 20 people. We try to maintain the team as small as possible because our objective is to automate everything to keep costs low and even to decrease them. So we currently serve 47. That was a couple of days ago. Now we are above 48,000 customers. The cost comparison, if you look at the 4.6% real cost of the banks, so that's not the visible cost, that's the real total cost, because that's what the customer is not receiving against the benchmark or against the index. We have a total cost of 0.7 per year, including Indexa part. Indexa fees are on average 0.29, and that's VAT included. The Bing Bank, custodian bank, depository fee or custody fee of 0.24, and the fund cost, mostly Vanguard cost, very large low-cost index fund of 0.13. So what we promised actually was a 3.9 percentage point above average, above the average industry returns. What we actually delivered to date was 5.3 percentage points above industry average since the year 2015 when we started until that was actually updated 1 month ago. So total return 49%, annual return 7%. That's the average portfolio. A difference with benchmark of 35 points. Benchmark at, so you make the difference. 14% of the benchmark, 49 of Indexa. Reasonable volatility, Sharpe ratio, and a maximum drawdown of 20%. But that's not our merit, I would say. That's basically what the market delivered during this time. So we gave the market return with the market volatility and with very low fees. It's as secure as a bank because we are regulated as all the other players. And so it's supervised and authorized by the CNMV, that's the Spanish market regulator. It's registered by the FSMA in a libre prestation de service. We work with Bing Bang as a custodian bank and with BDO as an auditor. All the service is designed to put the customer first. So that's really, so many people are saying that, but we actually do it. So it's a product-driven company. We have no commercial teams, no push effort, no distribution channels. It's all about the product and the customer satisfaction. And we got very good scores and a very good word of mouth. Customers are actually recommending the solution. And that's the growth factor that is pushing us up. Indexa is also quite different from the other automated investment services because we actually don't lose money. Not anymore, at least. So since the year 2020, last year, the company is profitable. You can see it, I have a pointer, I think. Oh, never mind. That's the profit below and the revenues above. So 2.5 million, that's what we will finish the year 2021 with a profit almost of 500,000 euro. 3 people founding team. Unai is the most academical profile, very strong profile. Doctor in quantitative economics, CFA, university professor. Ramon is a very high profile as well. He was a founder of Self-Trade and then Self-Bank in Spain. He did a career at Société Générale when they bought Self-Trade, Self-Bank many years ago. Ramon is also a venture partner of Blackfin for Spain, Harvard University, Fulbright, etc. And I bring more the internet experience because I was a founder of several internet ventures before, and previously I worked at Boston Consulting Group in Brussels, but so many years ago that they probably don't remember me. That's the growth we have, so exponential growth. That's the dip of the pandemic, the COVID crisis. We are now above 1.3 billion. Very strong growth in Spain, still to be discovered in Belgium because we launched 1 year ago, and we as you can see, we are growing a little less in Belgium as we were growing at the same period at the beginning in Spain. So what we are looking for actually is French-speaking beta testers for the moment. French-speaking because the service in Belgium of Indexa is not yet available in Flemish, but you're welcome to try it in French. And well, I made a mistake. That's obviously .com. And please feel free to to try the service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have 2 questions. The first one is about the market. So you mentioned the Wealth Simple, Wealth France, Acorns. those kind of company, you see they have a shift, and they have grown in investment in the period of COVID, because a lot of people see digitalization as a way to actually enter the investment space, which was before much reserved to people that pass through banks, etc. Do you see a growth there from your point of view in Spain, but also in other markets? Do you see that COVID had this impact? That is the first one.
No, we didn't. We've been growing above 100% every year since 2018. Before it was much higher than 100%. So we grew a little more last year than the year before, but it's not significant. So it's basically about 110% growth previous year, 120 last year, still growing faster this year. So we don't see a significant impact.
Okay, interesting. And for Wealthsimple, for example, Acorns and Meniga, I don't know if you are also familiar with them, but basically they enter more and more the ESG pre-built kind of portfolio they offer to consumers. Is it something you're also considering, or?
Yeah, we will offer ESG alternative starting in January for two reasons. The first one is that the regulator is obliging us to do, so that's an obvious one. Actually, we're not too fan of ESG yet, because we think there is there is more greenwashing than actual hard data inside. We are basically a data company, so we're studying it, and we will offer an alternative. But we're not sure it's already a mature alternative.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello. So who is your ideal, or not ideal, but who is your typical investor on the platform in terms of persona? Like, how does that person look like?
Okay. For the moment, it's a 39-year-old male living in Madrid. Many of them engineers, developers. That's the most typical category, but we are already 48,000 customers, so it's getting a little more wider, mainstream.
The average portfolio?
So the average portfolio is 25,000 euro. And we do mutual funds portfolio, pension funds portfolio, employee pension plans. So we've been broadening a little bit the product base as well.
Next question. I have a few questions. The next question is in terms of so product offer. So if you look at all the other like American and North American competitors, what they did is that they started with passive investment, and then they expanded to other type of active investment or high interest savings or stuff like that. This is something you have in mind as well in the future? Or?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because partly because Ramon has a very large experience in trading and with self-trade and then self-bank. We think it's raised to zero regarding the margins in the trading, and it's also not a too transparent business because they are tending not to charge a customer and to actually sell the trade flow to others. So we definitely don't wouldn't get into that. We are very convinced that the index global diversification alternative is the best one for the customer, and we want to stick to that. And we even go through a success circle of growing in volume, reducing the fees, delivering a better profitability to the customers, and then still growing faster, reducing the fees. So that's a kind of Vanguard model, or more following the Vanguard model than the other automated investment services.
And one last question. We don't see a lot of other actors that are successful, that are cross-border actors that are successful, because it's really hard to, well, first adapt products, and then second, understand the culture, and then, difference. And then one of the biggest challenges for robo-advisor, even if you're not specifically a robo-advisor, is to acquire clients at a cost that makes sense. How do you feel about European expansion? Because it's the second country already. Is something you want to continue? Like, if so, what's your next country? Like, you want to be a pan-European player?
Yes, we do. We know that we play against the odd because there is very little success stories of financial services expanding across Europe. But still, we are trying in Belgium, and I think we will succeed because even if we have a very small customer base, they are satisfied and they're recommending us. And the next step is to open in France. life insurance savings account next year in partnership with a large French insurer.
So you're not limited to where Bing Bank is active, or what is kind of in the onboarding process the need for a Bing Bank account?
So we like to partner with a custodian bank, Bing Bank in Spain, in Belgium, in Bercis and Seca Bank in Spain, because it gives a very good strength to the solution. You know that your money is managed by Indexa, but custodied by a bank. And we would like to open accounts, securities accounts in France as well with Bing Bank, but Bing Bank is now migrating to Saxo Bank platform. Common platform between Big Bank and Saxo Bank, and we are going to wait for Saxo to offer the service in France. So we will open in France with a life insurance investment service, and then with a fund portfolio.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You were mentioning that the word of mouth was really a good way to grow for you. How do you explain that it didn't happen in Belgium, and what did you learn on the Spanish market that you can replicate on other markets?
Well, we are missing still some trust points in Belgium. One of them is that we don't have an advisor committee in Belgium. We had it with very famous people in Spain. We don't have an office in Belgium, so we don't have local address, local phone number. Something that the customer normally are willing to have for an asset manager. So that's something that we will probably offer in the future. For the time being, we are working with the current customer base and trying to get them to recommend the service. That's the part of the hardship of internationalization. It's very, very hard to get the trust of your customers outside your home country.
And it was really that's what we saw on your graph. So that's really the point.
It's over, but we will have to be patient. But since we are there for the long term, we have no cash problem because the company is profitable. So we just have all the time to wait.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I think the next one we can welcome is Tanguy from Seraphin. Awesome.
Yeah, it's actually Hugues. I'm Tanguy, twin brother, and this is Calixte. So I'm co-CEO at Seraphin. So Tanguy is my twin brother. That's the one who talked this morning at the pitch with Independent, KBC, AG, and so on. So we are co-CEO and we are twin brothers. And this is Calixte.
I'm head of marketing.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome.
So we are glad to be here today to talk to you about a great adventure that started 6 years ago, Seraphin. So Seraphin is the first digital broker in Belgium. And what we do is we try to, and we revolutionize the customer experience in insurance. And how do we do that? We do it by making insurance finally simple.
Before starting, I would like to ask you to close your eyes and to think about the last time you bought an insurance. Close your eyes, please. What was your experience? What are the first words that comes to your mind?
Well, we believe, like most of the Belgians, the experience is quite related to complexity and lack of trust. Those are some figures we see from some studies. 58% of the people say they are not satisfied with innovation in insurance, and it's quite related to the fact that insurance remains complex for a person. It takes time to subscribe to insurance, to compare. But also, next to that, we see that 55% of the people do not trust the insurance company. So having those two problems, people finding it too complex, but also next to that, people having quite limited trust in their company, we see that overall, the recommendation rate in insurance is quite low, only 6% NPS for the insurers in Belgium.
So you see, there are a lot of problems with insurance. But actually, insurance is really crucial for our society. And you know, insurance help people who lost everything, who lost their car, who lost their home, to restart their life again, thanks to solidarity. So we need a revolution. We need the revolution to change the customer experience. We need to bring protection and serenity to Belgians. This is our vision. So how do we do with Seraphin to change this customer experience? We do it with technology.
So at Seraphin, we put technology at the core of our value proposition. So, for example, when we need to buy an insurance contract, we work with API with multiple companies, and then depending on the needs and depending on your profile, we will show up automatically the best insurance contract that we can offer you, and in 2 clicks, you're insured.
You are moving to a new place. You have a new car. You can easily modify your contract in your customer dashboard. No calls, no email, just 2 clicks, you are covered.
Then secondly, so we mentioned there are 2 big problems. The first big problem was complexity, and then the second big problem is lack of trust. At Seraphin, we also work on how we can improve the peace of mind of our clients. To do that, we are actually a broker. So what is a broker? So we work as an intermediary between the company and the client. So typically banks or direct companies may not have an interest to reimburse you the maximum because it would reduce the profitability. Us at Seraphin, our target and our goal is actually our clients and how we can improve the process, the fairness, and to get a fair reimbursement and a rapid reimbursement. That's why we work with a team of jurists who actually will defend our customers.
To ensure peace of mind, we also developed a live follow-up of your claims. You know, when you are buying shoes on the internet, you can easily know where they are and when you will get it home. When you have a claim at Seraphin, we want to give you the same experience. You can easily follow it in your dashboard. We also leverage a large network of partners to help you to resolve your claim. For example, you need a plumber, you can get it in 2 days at home to resolve your problem.
And then finally, to ensure the peace of mind, we actually also work on, quite proud of that, an automatic price update. So when you have a contract at Seraphin, every year we will challenge and we will recheck with API the product and see whether it's still the best for you or not.
And the success is there.
And we are quite proud to say that from 2017 onwards, we have doubled the turnover every year. And next to it, we also see quite high customer satisfaction with 98% of the people who do recommend Seraphin to their friends after a claim, and 96% of the people who say that they also recommend Seraphin after a subscription.
So yes, thanks to Seraphin, insurance could be now easy and efficient. Our secret, bringing humanity and technology together.
We'll take questions gladly.
Okay, I'll start then. Thank you very much. So we understand what you did so far, and it's super cool. What's next? Do you have plans to grow beyond the broker status, to open a new country, to launch new products? Like, what's next?
Good question. So we got different. So in the coming months, we will actually change a bit our identity to improve our ability to go abroad, because Seraphin is a bit too French-speaking. So we will work on that. That's the first point. And next to it as well, it's a good point. The broker model is interesting, but also reflecting on how we can potentially take more steps, more frustrating steps. Like, for example, payment is sometimes quite frustrating for some people. And so we are working on how we can increase in the value chain. That's the second point. And then finally, we also reflect.
Which is go to what route? Like the MGA status,
We're reflecting on the status and how we can do it in the best way. But that's true. The broker is the fact that you deliver the product from others, but also we will keep the fact that it will not be our product. That's what we believe, because we like the fact that we are independent. But we will take over some parts that we believe are not really well done by some companies. That's the second thing. And then also we also see, in insurance, it's a really broad market. Currently we are focused on B2C. We also see some quite nice results in life insurance. We're reflecting also on how we can continue to simplify this insurance proposition potentially to small B2B. We need to see, and we need to see as well what will be the result of the market.
Thank you. I can continue then.
But okay, for 2022, we will expand in Flanders because now we are strong in the north, south of the country, but we need to develop ourselves in the south.
And you mentioned expansion as well afterwards, like outside Belgium as well? Or?
We'll see. First of all, we want to capitalize. For example, we took 6-7% market share in motorbike. We took 1-2% market share in car insurance. We want, first of all, to consolidate, and as Cadix said, also in the north part of the country. And afterwards, depending on that, we need to see as well what would be a good go-to-market to go abroad, and that's always the question.
Okay, so how do you feel about the competition in France, for example, where you have lots of neo-brokers? You know, Luco, Leocare, Lovis,
a lot of competition coming from the
Edwige. Yes, all of them like are in France, for example. So how do you feel about the competition? You know, Belgium is like still a small market and very hard for the B2C space. Yep. So how do you feel about them at some point maybe entering the market?
It's a good point. It's quite interesting to see the amount of money that they are able to raise. We got, like when we compare Seraphin to them, we're doing quite a nice job, depending on the front width. For example, they are 15 times larger than what the numbers of customers we have here in Wallonia or in Brussels, which was the main focus of Seraphin until now. So first of all, I think there are some actors who have a larger footprint, so they're present in France, which is a bigger country. And we believe in the way we are approaching the market with a digital solution. We could, and with those partnerships. So we have a B2C approach and also a B2B2C approach, and we believe we are quite putting the basis of the foundation that enables us to remain strong versus some new actors that may come in.
No, just we are broker, and the Belgians people love to have a broker, and I think the French model is very different and it's not based on broker services. So we are quite confident that the Belgians will continue to would like to have a broker to defend themselves when they have problems and everything.
Yeah, we see for 20 years the market of the brokers have been quite stable at around 60%, and so we believe there still is there is a market that some people would like to have that, and there may be potentially some direct companies like Corona, like Etias or Yuzu, for example, who may suffer more than us potentially from competition from actors like that who may enter the market.
I have a quick question. Looking at some other Belgian well-known player like Cover, for example, who partnered with Revolut in order to go to this kind of embedded insurtech model. Is this something that you're thinking of, or?
It's a very interesting model, and the added value that Cuypers has is that they can go at the European level directly, and so take big partnerships. But in the way we do it, as mentioned, so we have this marketplace, so people can come to us and buy a contract from one of the different companies. But also in the way we are developing Seraphin, we also have kind of some products where we are more taking over some part of the value chain, and we believe by doing that we also would be able to go and develop a nice B2B2C approach with some Belgian actors who want to specialize and want to develop and sell insurances, and we believe that Seraphin could be a nice partner for them.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if anyone has a question from the public. If no, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think we can now welcome our last pitcher, Kevin from Sagacify. Yes? Sagacify, sorry.
Hear me? Yeah, can you hear me? Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer for keeping the best pitch to the end. And so, okay, first question. Can I ask those of you who like their lunch today to raise their hands? The DFS lunch, was it tasty? Okay. And so let's suppose now that you had to expense that lunch to get reimbursed. Who would have had to expense this lunch because you're working for a company? Like normally, like most of you. Well, so you know what a receipt is. And have you ever imagined, so what it takes like to get reimbursed, someone at some point will have to encode the information from the receipt into an accounting system to get reimbursed. And have you ever imagined what it would look like to do this encoding job? Well, let me tell you pretty painful. You're pretty repetitive and mundane. Not only is it painful for one receipt encoded by one person, but imagine how painful it would be for many people having to encode many of those receipts all day long, like pretty depressing. And now let's take the case of an insurance company or a bank. And you have like accident form reports to encode, like thousands and tens of thousands of them. Or you are taking care of a bodily injury claim initiated by your customers. And so your customers are sending you ambulance invoices, hospital invoices, doctor invoices, pharmacy invoices, and so forth. And most of the time, faced with this truckload of administrative work and repetitive encoding tasks, poor customer only get reimbursed after weeks and even months sometimes, while your people are still working like crazy trying to catch up on the backlog. So it's not only is it painful for the insurance companies, but also super painful for the customer. And so it really drives people crazy. So now, imagine that a system exists to automate all of these tasks, all of these encoding tasks of documents and emails. A system that reduces error rates, a system that improves over time automatically, and that free employees' time of their repetitive work so that they can focus on what matters most is like customer satisfaction. Well, this product exists. It's called Squiz, and this is a product that we built. Squiz is an AI-based solution that automates the document and email processing without the need to use keywords, template, or rules. If I take an example here of, let's say, like a big PDF file that's just out of a scanner containing many different sorts of documents, here, like contracts, accident forms, invoices, and so forth. Well, first, Squiz can automatically split and detect individual documents within this file, like this, for example. Then Squiz can determine, okay, what kind of file is it? An invoice in this case. And then if it's an invoice, I know that Squiz is supposed to find all different sorts of information, like invoice numbers, issue dates, amounts, but also more complex structures, so like line items, VAT summary tables, address blocks, and so forth. So you get the idea. So this is a quick demo of what it looks like concretely to automate the treatment of a document, like the same receipt that you saw. So it's just a question of drag and dropping into the user interface. You can obviously use an API call to integrate that better in your system. And then boom, like in only 1 or 2 seconds, the system has already classified, recognized the document, and also extracted a whole bunch of information from that piece of document. You can also imagine that we've got an accident form report and these sort of documents. And you see dates, all the amounts, with the VAT rates, the supplier, the VAT number, supplier names, and also the more complex structure like the table with a description, quantity, unit prices, and so forth. And so all type of information that is sitting into complex document like contracts, accident forms, all the kind of invoice can automatically be treated by the system. So you get the idea that not only it's help you save a lot of time and thus money, but also improves on quality, because Squiz is an AI-based system that is learning based on the collective knowledge of how you were doing in the past, so how you people have been doing. And also it gives time back to your employees so that they can take better care of their customers, and then your customer are then more happy because not only do they get an answer much faster, but also an answer they also get served much better. And also we believe that it's also Squiz is a nice step towards integrating AI, integrating automation into your company with guaranteed success. So Squiz has been already deployed in many customers in the financial service industries, like automating a whole bunch of email and type of documents. And so I definitely invite you to stop wasting time doing all those repetitive administrative tasks so that you can really focus on what matters, like Filip, one of our happy customers who happily testify about the gains and the efficiency of what you can get with our systems. So I definitely invite you to come see us at our stand so that we can help you compute the value that you could get out of Squiz and the return on investment that you can get. And as if it was not only enough as an incentive to come see us, we also have like a contest running where you can win 100,000 document for free or Squiz credits to at least get you covered for the first year, probably. So thank you very much, and I welcome you to the stand.
Thank you very much. Is there a question from you? Yeah.
So thank you for the demo. It was quite amazing to see the product. It's always better to understand how deep you are, how far you are. In terms of verticals, so now you're targeting first the insurance market. Are there any other verticals that you are already targeting, or what's the road in terms of industry?
Yeah, so as a scale-up startup, we navigated through opportunities. And so the first one that arose like a few years ago was invoice and receipts, which we started. Then we realized that the insurance industry has a whole bunch of documents, like I could name 20 of them, that you can automate. And not only document, but also emails. And so this is like definitely the second sector that we are fully focusing on, in the fact that invoice and receipts, it's like pretty mainstream. It's like a red ocean, sort of. And so we prefer to focus on a different side of the market.
Okay.
Of course, this technology can also be applied to other industry. We'll see where we go from there.
And what can you tell us about your traction today?
About the traction?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have enough time and resources to work on all the projects, so it's growing quite fast. So we've signed many big insurance firms in Belgium, and then each one have like sometimes 15 types of documents that they have to automate. So it's
okay. Thank you.
Traction is pretty good.
Could you also tell us a bit about the size of the team and also a bit the link between Sagacify and Squiz, or one is a product of
yeah,
the company?
Indeed, very good question. So originally, it's Sagacify who started the development of this solution, Squiz. Sagacify is an AI company specialized in automating operational processes. And so we realized like 2 years ago that there was like a big opportunity to industrialize what we were doing for already some customers. And so we spin out an entity called Squiz with a different P&L, different teams, different sales and marketing teams. The idea is really to go towards a session, like the split of a company, even if it's not yet the case.
And the size of the team that's building Squiz?
It's about 10 people.
Thank you.
But the tech still belongs to Sagacify, the IP.
At the moment, yes, it's like one entity, but at some point the idea is like to separate IPs, assets, and really stay focused, which we're also embracing today. Like people, the teams are already focused and dedicated, so that they don't get cannibalized by the service company.
Is there any question from the public? Oh, sorry, excuse me.
Did you develop everything internally, or did you took some other part of softwares or?
So obviously this is an OCR-based solution, so at the core, and so you were using AWS or the technology to use the OCR system, but then all the magic that's coming behind it to automate it is machine learning on top of the output of an OCR. Everything has been done internally, so there is no indeed reusing of like existing solutions. It's a tech that we built internally.
Okay, thank you.
And it's all about user experience and simplicity. This is our target.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
You're welcome.